the shadows, down low. You don't know what I'm going through, don't know what I'm going through. It's down low, down low. You don't know what I'm going through, don't know what I'm going.
Yo, what's good? Welcome back, TPL Nation, for another draft analysis video. And in this one, we have one of the newer coaches, the LA Nidokings, and coached by It's Danny Mac. And this team is super scary. So first off, thanks to their high draft pick this season, they were able to snag Dragonite, one of the newest threats. And you can look at this set that I have right here, and it's not hard to see how this is a threat. With this thing being able to Dynamax, heavy-duty boots can protect its Dragonite's multi-scale from any sort of rocks or hazards, switch-ins. And with extreme speed, Dragon Claw, Fly, and Dragon Dance. Dragon Dance saying, hey, I'm just going to get this free boost real quick because I'm still at full HP with my multi-scale. Go to +1, and then +1 Dragonite can start firing off max airstreams into the opponent, and those are going to hurt unless you have some kind of resist. And then with Dragon Claw, just as a good stab, and then Extreme Speed just as a nice priority after the Dynamax. I feel like Extreme Speed could be potentially really good on this. You don't have to run it. You could definitely run like a fighting move if you wanted to boost its attack during the Dynamax. But I feel like Extreme Speed is just super good for Dragonite, seeing as it has lackluster speed, but then when it gets all of those attack boosts, it can just fire off extremely powerful extreme speeds into the opponent. However, with the ability to Dynamax, it's definitely not the most needed thing in the world. You could definitely run something like Fire Punch for any steel types that want to switch in on Dragonite. So this Pokemon is probably going to be a kill leader for the season. I don't see a lot of teams being able to safely switch in on this thing, and to be honest, you kind of don't want it to be able to switch. You kind of don't want to switch out, because if it retains its multi-scale, it's going to be big trouble for you, absolutely. And Dragonite just being one of the threats that we'll see on the LA Nidokings team. But as we go down, there's a few other things that Dragonite can use. We could see some kind of weird special set come out. If it doesn't want to run Fly, he could run a Dual Wing Beat. As we keep moving, we do see Earthquake for another good move to hit steel types with. You know, there could be some other things he might use, but I doubt any of this will probably get used except maybe Ice Punch. Keep moving down. There are some rock coverage moves if he's fearing something of that sort. Thunderbolt could be interesting. Thunder Punch might be nice for any like bulky waters that want to try to sit in front of Dragonite. But to be honest, if Dragonite's like at least +1, I doubt there is like any bulky water that can safely sit in front of Dragonite. And even then, you're gonna be firing off ice beams into a multi-scale Dragonite, and that's just, it's not gonna be that great for you, because you're not gonna one-shot this thing, especially if it's already Dynamaxed. So this thing's going to be super brutal. I'm just going to run through the rest of its moves, because Dragonite is going to be an absolute threat. I am going to let the opponent of Danny Mac each week think about what they want to run against this monster. But I really think the best way to combat Dragonite is to just really hope that it's not on your schedule. As we move on to another Pokemon here, we have Rillaboom. Now, Rillaboom did not get to see much shine last season, but I feel like that's all going to change with a new coach. I feel like the Choice Band set is really good, complementing with the Grassy Glide. You definitely don't have to run Jolly, that's what I have here, but you could definitely run Adamant for some extra damage. And with U-Turn, Grassy Glide, Superpower, and Knockoff, like, what else do you need, really? I do like the U-Turn for it in case Rillaboom just wants to set up Grassy Surge for other Pokemon on this team that we'll get to. And I feel like Rillaboom's just going to be a super threatening Pokemon, and it has different sets it can use. It has stuff like Bulk Up, it has Swords Dance, it has Acrobatics if it wants to Dynamax itself. It can be a super threatening Pokemon. It doesn't necessarily need its Dynamax. The same with Dragonite, to be honest. It really doesn't need its Dynamax to put in work. I feel like even outside of a Dynamax meta, Dragonite's still a very good Pokemon to have on a person's team. We do move through most of its moves pretty quickly. We do see Stomping Tantrum there. It does get high horsepower, so it does get ground coverage in its terrain, which could definitely be useful for Rillaboom. So Rillaboom definitely going to be putting in some work. You know, it's going to be a hard Pokemon to work around. With this set, you could also run a Sol Vest if you wanted to, just to give Rillaboom a little bit more bulk, but be able to switch your moves up. Could definitely see that being possible with Rillaboom. And then we move on to a former member of the Augusta Agrons in Copperraja. Copperraja is a very interesting Pokemon to try to use. It's not fast, but it hits hard and has decent HP. Its defenses aren't all that great, so that really can leave Copperraja in more of like lackluster positions, especially in Draft League. However, when I was running this Pokemon, I love to use different berries like Akaberry, Shuckaberry, and Chople to let this Pokemon take less hits while it's Dynamax. But will we see a Dynamax Copperraja coming from the LA Nidokings? Probably not, but it is an option that he does have. I do like the Stealth Rock support from Copperraja for this team, just to deal an extra little bit of damage, break potential Focus Sashes and Sturdies on the opponent's team, and then that's really leaving Rillaboom and Dragonite to come in and deal massive amounts of damage with very little being able to live their moves. And then we move on to another hard-hitting... Oh, wait, I forgot to go through its moves. So, Copperraja is interesting with its abilities. I do like Heavy Metal as well as Sheer Force. However, with Copperraja, you're kind of going to have a hard time using Sheer Force and physical type moves. For the most part, with its moveset, you're going to have to use special type moves to use Sheer Force. And coming off of Copperraja's base 80 special attack isn't the best thing in the world. Like, I imagine you could run Life Orb Sheer Force with the special moves and do a little bit of damage, but I think all in all, if you play it right, you get more damage out of the heavy metal moves with Heavy Slam, Heat Crash, Power Whip just for coverage to be able to hit like bulky water types. And you know, Copperraja is an interesting Pokemon. It does have quite a few different moves it can use. Curse could be nice, but it has plenty of good coverage moves, as you can see. So a special set, while not being out of the question, could come out for sure. We run into other Pokemon moves like Stone Edge, Steel Beam could come out for maybe like a niche set. Taunt, maybe, if he wants to stop something from stalling in front of him. Superpower is a nice move for this. Substitute as well. Whirlwind to phase something out if he just wants Copperraja to come in, live a hit, and get something out of the way. But definitely Copperraja has a nice move set of like interesting moves. Oh look, usually useless moves, Heat Crash and Heavy Slam, both down here. So yeah, you don't necessarily have to rely on Heavy Metal. You could run Iron Head to get the Sheer Force boost. Let me see, you could get, so we'll throw Sheer Force on there, do a little Life Orb action, and turn that into Iron Head. And like there's some other moves you can use, like but you get what I'm trying to say, is that like it's not the best thing to be able to use its Sheer Force ability. Like you do have Iron Head as an option. You could run Rock Slide on there as well. But it's just really whatever he thinks he's gonna need week to week, I think. But Copperraja is a good Pokemon. It does have decent bulk to at least live 1 or 2 hits, so that's a good thing that's going for Copperraja. And Rocks is always a great move to run, as well as if he wants to run G-Max Copperraja, it can set up this Steel Shards. And Steel Shards might matter a little bit more than you think. I mean, I remember last season those Steel Shards killed the Clefable for me, so shout out to that. We move on to the next member of this threatening team in Keldeo, and there's just a really good utility in the Choice Specs Keldeo. Choice Specs is nice, but honestly you could run Life Orb with more of this set over here with the Hydro Pump, Secret Sword, Calm Mind, and Icy Wind. Life Orb, Calm Minds, taking you to like +1, like +1 Hydro Pumps, Life Orb boosted, that's going to hurt a lot of things. Secret Sword is useful if you want to hit stuff on the defensive side while also giving it some good fighting stab. It also gets options in Aura Sphere too if you want to run that over this. You're only missing on 5% base damage. And unfortunately, the best ice move Keldeo gets is Icy Wind, but there are other things it can use, like as you see down through here, we have Air Slash. There's the Aura Sphere I talked about earlier. Focus Blast if you're feeling real lucky. But it does get screen support. It gets Rest, Roar, Poison Jab could be interesting just to do a little bit of chip damage to a fairy type. But definitely not going to be the premier move you use on Keldeo. As we move down through here, Substitute Keldeo could be very annoying. I could see like a Calm Mind Substitute set being very, very annoying and a pain to work around. Toxic could be interesting, probably not a good move for Keldeo though. So just more of the same down through here. I think there were better options for most of these attacks up at the top. That's just about it, it looks like. Smart Strike could be an interesting move, but like I said, firing off physical moves from Keldeo is not ideal. Workup could possibly be an interesting move. I don't know if you'd run that over Calm Mind, but hey, it's there. But Calm Mind Keldeo is definitely going to be very interesting. And with a 108 base speed and 129 special attack, it's very good at a Specs user, very good at a Scarf user. If he just wants to come in and fire off a Scarf or a Specs Hydro Pump, he's more than welcome to do that, and it's going to put in a lot of work. We move into another member of the Augusta Agrons, another former member in Piloswine, and I love Piloswine because it's very bulky with an Eviolite and it's very annoying. You can run Thick Fat, you can run Oblivious or Snow Cloak. I normally stick to Thick Fat, but it definitely depends on your matchup here in the league. If you don't think this thing is going to take a fire move, then definitely run Oblivious or something like that to keep its attack up. But with moves like Icicle Crash, Ice Shard, Earthquake, and Stealth Rock, there isn't a whole lot else you need. But Piloswine does get a few other tools it can use that I like to mention, like Curse. It could be a very good option. I really love Avalanche on it, especially since it's so slow, because taking a hit and then firing back like a base 120 ice move is really good if you need to do that. As we run down through here, there are some other things it can use. High Horsepower could probably be the main move to use on this team because of the Rillaboom being here. It does get screen support. Maybe we could see something like that. I've used Roar in the past. It does have its tech niche uses. You do have Superpower here as a pretty strong fighting type move, and Piloswine can really put some good attacks onto the opponent, some good damage. It only has 100 base attack, but that's still very respectable. And you know, Stealth Rock being a good rocker. As we move down through everything else, not a whole lot. Charm could be interesting, but there's not a whole lot else down here except for like a niche use, maybe Icy Wind to slow down the opponent, but you're not going to be putting out a lot of damage at that point. But Piloswine doing a lot of good stuff here. I feel like you could see a Curse set come out possibly and just, you know, put out huge amounts of damage, because when you're taking that 100 base attack all of a sudden to +1 or even +2, something like Piloswine can get a lot of mileage and put a lot of damage out onto the opponent, and a lot of good chip damage too. So we run into next one of the most threatening Pokemon that I think will be on this team, and it's Comfey. And Comfey isn't all that great, but Triage like really makes it so what this Pokemon does, it does insanely well, giving it priority to all its healing moves. And as you see this moveset we have, pretty much all it's going to have is healing moves. Draining Kiss, Giga Drain, Synthesis for Calm Mind. This thing is going to be really hard to kill. Leftovers user, and its stats defensively aren't bad. Obviously its HP could leave something to desire, but with its defense at 90 and its SPDF at 110, it's definitely not lacking in the defenses. So this Pokemon could definitely be very annoying under, say, grassy terrain. Just with grassy terrain being able to heal this Pokemon every turn, as well as Leftovers healing this Pokemon. So when you think about that with Leftovers and grassy terrain, you might not even run Synthesis on it. But this Pokemon could be very annoying with dual healing moves like Giga Drain and Draining Kiss. As we move down through, we do see a few more tools it can use, like Defog. Encore could be annoying. Heal Bell support is there. Screen support's there. Pain Split is there. Pain Split, I believe Pain Split probably gets boosted by Triage as well. Substitute could be very annoying to like shield this Pokemon even more. That's definitely not something you want to see come out against you. That'd be super scary. Tailwind support could actually be really good for this team, because this team under Tailwind could all of a sudden be super scary, super fast and super scary with fast Pokemon, fast hard-hitting Pokemon like Dragonite, Rillaboom, and Keldeo already on the roster. U-turn could be interesting, but I doubt we'll see it too much, but it does give him some momentum gain right there in case he needs that. We do see Charm come out. That could possibly come out if you see Comfey come out to just weaken something. But there's not a whole bunch else down here. I doubt we'll see the Grassy Glide Comfey come out, but hey man, weirder things have happened. Growth could be a very interesting thing, especially in the anti-Sun matchup, or maybe if he brings Sun as himself. You never know. Then that Comfey would be gaining a lot of attack. But as we move down through, there's not much else to see here. So I feel like Comfey, while being somewhat limited on what it can do, it does have a few extra options in the back for support. So just the ability to play a super offensive Pokemon, but also having that option for support, I feel like will help this team out a lot. We move on to Morpeko, and Morpeko is very interesting with the Hunger Switch ability being a very unique ability to itself, being able to switch from Aura Wheel's base type from Electric to Dark every turn. And I just made this set to kind of just build off that, like Life Orb Fake Out. Fake Out's here more of not just to get chip, but let's say you're going against something that you really wish that Aura Wheel was a different color, different type color for, then you fake out, and then you basically waste the turn, and then your Hunger Switch activates, and then you go into your other type. So that could be very interesting. Also, Parting Shot is there for some momentum gains. Parting Shot, a very good move to double out into really hard-hitting possible sweepers like Rillaboom, Keldeo, and Dragonite. So I could definitely see Parting Shot coming into play and just being a very scary thing for opponents to try to deal with. And we do see quite a few different moves that it could get. Morpeko getting Rapid Spin, that's pretty nice. Seed Bomb is interesting. Stomping Tantrum, as well as other ground moves. Quite a few electric type moves. Unfortunately, it doesn't get Nuzzle. It does have Super Fang for more of like a support set. We could definitely see that come out as well, just to deal a free 50% to anything that might want to switch in on it, like a ground type. As we keep going down through here, there's not a whole lot more, but you know, you never know what you could see come out in the TPL. But I feel like what Morpeko has going for it is pretty good. You know, it can disrupt Pokemon. Tickle could be interesting to lower a Pokemon's attack and defense, so I'm not gonna overlook that move. But you know, Morpeko's an interesting use. It does give him some priority as well as some momentum, so I like Morpeko. I think overall with Crunch, I'd probably just rather take Rapid Spin on a set like this, just to protect them from hazards a little bit more. Obviously, his team doesn't really suffer from hazards too much, especially if he's running heavy-duty boots on Dragonite. But if he doesn't want to run heavy-duty boots on Dragonite, he has that option with the Rapid Spin on Morpeko. And then we move on to the final member, which is the Torquette. And I actually really like Torquette. If you check out its stats here, it's got 90 base speed, so that's respectable, with 85 base attack, which is okay. But with Intimidate as a good ability, you could pack an Eviolite on here. I have it on here, but to be honest, you don't have to run an Eviolite on here, and I feel like you'd be better off running a different item. But really, it's just up to you. You could run something to boost this thing's damage. Maybe if you wanted to focus more on pivoting, you could run Eject Button to just lower Intimidates and lower attacks with Intimidate, and then get hit and then go into something else. Parting Shot is pretty good, like we just said. Will-O-Wisp to cripple offensive threats. Crunch just as a good move in general, just to get some chip damage. And Flare Blitz, just that powerful stab move, really. But it gets some interesting other moves as well, like Acrobatics, Bulk Up, Fake Out supports there. It is mini Incineroar to an extent. There are a few things that it doesn't get that Incineroar does get, like Knockoff. U-Turn could be interesting as we move down through. This Pokemon could be interesting. We see a lot of things that it might be able to use. Scary Face right there, just to hinder the opponent's Pokemon. We could definitely see that. Work Up as an option as well. So, you know, while Torquette might not be the best Pokemon in the world, I do think that it can serve a more defensive use for this team. And I think that's that really wraps up the profile for this. But I like this team because it has insane offensive capabilities in Dragonite, Rillaboom, and Keldeo, but also pretty decent defenses with Copperraja, Piloswine, Torquette. Comfey is also really good to play either a supportive role or an offensive role. So I feel like this team is really balanced in what it wants to do. As I'm out here looking through, however, I just don't see any glaring weaknesses. This team's very powerful. I actually think I'm going to go ahead and rate it an 8.5. And I know that's really high, but when you're thinking about insane threats to deal with, like Dragonite and Rillaboom, you have annoying defensive threats like Copperraja, Keldeo for like backup plans to put insane damage onto your opponent, disruptive Pokemon like Piloswine, walls like Piloswine that can help support your more offensive Pokemon. Comfey is just all around super annoying with triage healing. It's just annoying. More Pico could be a definitely interesting utility user with the Rapid Spin, Fake Out, Parting Shot combo, and Torquette as well for the reasons that I've listed before. So yeah, final is 8.5 for the LA Nidokings. So I'll catch you guys in the next draft analysis video. I've been Ace Trainer Ryan. Peace.